Now, the government have plans to directly support up to 60% of wages for staff or people in viable jobs, quote unquote. This is significantly less generous than the existing furlough scheme in place, but it's also significantly less costly. The scheme will cost about £1.2 billion compared with the £40 billion so far spent on furlough. The scheme will start in November and run for 6 months, but some say that it's only kicking the can down the road for another 6 months. Pay as you grow scheme was also announced by the Chancellor in his winter economic plan. The scheme aims to help companies with more time to pay back their loans. So the payback period for bounce back loans and CBILS has been extended from 6 to 10 years. Those struggling to pay them back will now be able to make interest only repayments as opposed to capital plus interest, and anyone in real trouble will be able to suspend the payments altogether. This will be good for any businesses who took out the loan, but what does it really mean in the context of viable jobs? The Chancellor made this, quote, viable job statement in his talk to Parliament, but the question I have really is that who gets to decide what jobs are viable and what jobs are not? So much has changed in the last 6 months since the pandemic started that, companies that were viable 12 months ago may not appear viable right now, but market forces could change when a new vaccine is introduced, for example, and bring those companies back into play. I'm thinking of the travel industry, the leisure industry, and places that have been shut down in large part because of government measures, but now could be deemed as non-viable through no fault of their own. But then once a pandemic eases or a vaccine is created, they become viable again. What happens if those lost jobs have already been lost, if people have already had to change careers, etc.? Of course, zombie companies, that is those propped up purely by cheap money, are bad for productivity. And we saw this since the financial crisis. There have been a lot of zombie companies around, and they've been effectively getting high on their own supply, or on the government supply of quantitative easing, amongst other things.
It's now a good time to invest in the stock market. With most global markets having recovered most of their post-pandemic losses, which sectors will recover and which ones will benefit in the new economy? Is investing in commercial real estate still an option given how much it has fallen since the start of the pandemic? Is now a good time to go into buy-to-let? Or is now a good time to buy your own home for the first time? Especially with the whole new work-from-home culture that is expected to be the norm. Either way, is it better to get into new builds or to buy existing stock? Well, get the tools, knowledge and mindset coaching that you need to build wealth by buying passive income assets that will help you get rich slowly. Join the Slow Money Investment Club.